Okay, so this video is on effective communication, and that involves listening, speaking, and communicating. This is something really, really close to my heart because I've had a lot of things this lifetime with listening, with feeling heard, and it's really been one of my biggest wounds to overcome. And the problem is when we get into conversations with people, a lot of the time, really no one's listening to anybody. They're just waiting for the opportunity to speak and to get their point across. So they kind of pretend they listen for a bit and then dive in with their opinion. And I'm super guilty of that. Like, I will not say that I'm not. I'm aware that's one of my biggest wounds of not really giving that, like, not really fully truly listening to somebody else. I'm listening and not can't wait to get my point across, to tell them how they could change something or do something, rather than just being understanding and allowing them to feel heard. Because feeling heard is so important. Like, this is where all these wounds come from. When we didn't feel heard as a young person, and we felt like we weren't listened to and we weren't heard, then we go out there into the world with all these core issues of not feeling heard and listened to. And it can come across in different ways, but a lot of the ways that it comes across is not really being able to listen to somebody else because you've got such a need to be heard, and it's not conscious. It's not like people go into a conversation thinking, I'm not really wanting to listen to this person. They go in unaware of that, but the core wound constantly has this inner need to be listened to. So when you're going into conversations, just be really mindful about the exchange you're having with the other person. Are you really listening because you want to understand where they've come from and identify with them and think, yeah, I've been through that, or even understand that I can't identify with that and I haven't been through that experience, but I really understand where you're coming from? Or are you listening simply in a way to give advice, or listening in a way that you can sort of just pacify them for a bit so you can then speak and get your point across? And it's just about being really honest and really aware of that when communicating, because you're going to see massive shifts in your dynamic when you start to become aware of things like this. And like I said, I'm super guilty. It's one of my biggest, like, out of all the egoic traits that can separate you, that's probably one of my strongest. So I'm not sitting here in any way saying that I have not engaged in that type of communication, because I have and still do. I'm just very aware of it now, and the great thing with awareness is that's really all you have to do is be aware of things for them to change. The more aware you become of your ego, the more that it can drift away, especially when you start to realise where that ego came from. It comes from a feeling of not being heard and a need to be heard, and it's like a intense wound inside that almost feels like a pulling, like, oh my god, I need someone to listen to me, I need someone to validate me, I need somebody to hear me. And it becomes so overwhelming that you can't even listen to anybody else or hear anybody else or support anybody else, because this wound needs to be fed. So being aware of it and being aware of why you have it and where it comes from is such a huge point of being able to heal it to the point where you can start to have different communications, because this is really going to shift your dynamic once you start to become aware of your communication, and not just with a soul connection or a twin or a partner, but just generally in your experience. Like, try to look at where in life you might not really be listening to listen and to understand somebody, but listening because you can't wait to correct them, or you can't wait to get your point across, or you can't wait to talk, and you're just going to pacify them for a bit, so it enables you to do that. And just get really real and honest with yourself about maybe how you do that. And not everybody will have that core wound, but for those that do, just starting to really just bring awareness to it, and understanding where it came from and where it comes from. And that is a need to be heard and a need to be validated and a need to be right, and that is all ego, and it is all your ego trying to stay alive. So doing that very thing with communication could really change your dynamic a lot, and that's the key to like a healthy communication. It's not to be heard, it's to be heard and to listen and to feel heard and to allow the people to feel heard, because when somebody else feels heard, that can go a long, long way to healing them as well, because truly all everybody wants to do is be heard and be understood for wherever they are in their journey. So by allowing somebody to feel heard, you're healing them more than you can ever know. And I've been that one that's jumped in and been like, oh, you know, but you can do this and you can do this and this will help and this will help, because I've always had that kind of personality that wants to help people with advice and help people see the truth and help people in this way, when I'm probably not even hearing them, because I'm so quick to offer them a way out, but maybe not accepting that they don't want a way out right now, and all they actually want to do is be heard, and by being heard might make them have their own realization. So communication isn't just speaking, it's also engaging in a communication, like a proper communication, like listening, speaking, not, oh, I'll listen to you for a bit just so that I can speak, or I can give you some ideas on how to fix yourself. And I think a lot of us are guilty of that, if we're honest, or at least a fair proportion of people. And I, you know, hands up, like that's something that I'm very guilty of doing and have been very guilty of doing. But I'm very aware of it now, and I've been aware of it for a while. And then I've been watching a few things recently that just kind of hammered it in and solidified it, and kind of really made me think even more deeply, because I have been aware of it. Like I've known for a long time, it's actually one of my real core exclusive like listening wound is really one of my core wounds. So this is something that I can really, really speak from with experience, and I've been aware of it for a long time. And yeah, certain things and watching things have enabled me to go even deeper with it. And you can't, unfortunately, just force yourself to go and listen, because it doesn't work like that. You can't just say, oh, today I'm going to go and I'm going to listen to somebody, because it's such an overwhelming feeling inside. You're not even aware of it. It's very subconscious, this need to be heard. So really the way to deal with it is to acknowledge where it's coming from, which is the ego's need to be heard and need to be right and need to be the one that goes in there and actually offers the advice and gets it right and helps a person. So as soon as you're aware of that, then for long enough, then you can enable the wound to start dissolving, and then you'll no longer need to do it. It'll be a natural process. I don't believe that you can ever just go in there and be somebody different, because you cannot, because if the wound exists, you will not be able to alter your behaviour, because it will be so overwhelming and compulsive. And as soon as you heal that wound, it will dissolve and you will no longer have the need to do it. So it'll be a very natural process. And the same, I think I've done a video as well on pulling your energy back and pushing your energy forwards. And that's very linked into communication as well. And I've been noticing this a lot in my own dynamic, my own journey, is that I tend to pull back my energy to stay in control. So if I feel that I'm losing control, then I pull away from the situation and I put the shutters down. And I'm so aware of that now, that I can start to really make different conscious choices. And I'm not making different conscious choices 100% of the time, but being so aware of it, I'm able to make conscious choices or explain my behaviour more and say, I'm sorry that I did that. That came from this. And it made me feel like this, so I needed to do it. Or just having that awareness of why I'm putting my energy back. And people will do it with pushing the energy forwards as well. They will feel out of control and they will push the energy forwards, and that's the energy that we call the chaser, which isn't really the chaser, it's just the person who feels that by pushing their energy forwards they stay in a place of control. So those are really the key points of communication that are going to help you massively with your dynamic. And really just have a look at your life, but where you might be doing those things with communication, pulling your energy back, pushing your energy forwards, and not really hearing another person or feeling heard in the conversation. And those things can really go a long way to shifting stuff around. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll be back with some more videos soon. But they're all going to be centered around things like this now. I'm not going to be doing any more readings, which I explained in the last video, or any things that I feel just don't resonate with me anymore, on helping people to move forwards into their own power, because I don't want people to rely on anybody or rely on me or my videos or my readings or other people's videos and readings. You know, like, the power is all within ourselves. Like, we are the only person that can create this journey and move forwards on this journey. And it's okay listening to things you resonate with on the way, but obviously it's about not becoming attached to them, because as soon as we become attached to them, then we're just throwing all of our power away to other people, and we've just lost ourselves. So everything is within, and if you feel like something resonates and you can see it in your own life, and maybe it shines a green light, then amazing. But I don't want to get involved in creating like blogs and things that people can sort of use as an excuse not to go within, because that's where all the real work is done. But obviously if people trigger you to think about things differently and in a different way, then that's great. And all I can really do is share my experiences and my journey and my growth along the way. And if that resonates with you, then great. Okay, so bye.